YouTube, Machismo Eugene, another video from Exit Strategy. Welcome. Guess what, guys? I was out the other day. We had a lot of snow in upstate New York. I ended up paying for it. Tad bit under the weather, but I have something I want to share with you guys. And that is this one thing will haunt the narcissist for the rest of their life. Nope, it's not that you got away. That, in fact, will haunt them as well. But this one thing will haunt the narcissist until their grave. And when I tell you what it is, I hope it empowers you guys to disconnect from the trauma bond, the soul tie, and all the hoovers and all the love bombing that they want to come back in your life, or in some of your guys' cases, even at present, you find yourself, you're out of the situationship with them, but every now and again they pop up. Now, this may not exclusively pertain to your situation, particularly until you're completely done with them. But in this very case I'm talking about, this is undeniably going to haunt them into their grave. And that thing is your awareness. You and your awareness of what they are. Psychologically speaking, spiritually speaking, physically speaking, lack of intellectualness speaking, dumber than a box of rocks. You know what they are at the core. You are aware of what they're doing and how they've been moving for most of their life. Because if you're like me, when you got enlightened and awakened, you know my story. You don't tell a narcissist that they are a narcissist. But if you go back to some of the earlier videos back in 2020, you'll see me carrying you guys, taking you guys through the living room of where I resided downstairs. I'm upstairs now. At one point, I occupied the whole house. This is like a 10 or 12 bedroom house. And so there's a lower floor and upper floor. But when I got married to the narcissist, I didn't want anyone else within the premises of the house. So I niched out a deal, worked a deal out with the landlord to where I was actually paying a lot more for both apartments. So we had access to the top and bottom floor. And it was only me and my twins, which is 3, the narcissist and our autistic kid. So it was 5 of us occupying a whole house, occupying 6 bedrooms. So essentially everybody had their room. I think the boys stayed upstairs, yeah. And my daughter stayed downstairs. She was next to my room. Yep, that's how it was. So your awareness will wreak havoc on these narcissists for the rest of their life until they go to the grave. Because not only when they see you, they know you're aware. They know you are aware when they're not in your presence. So this is the panic that is setting in with them, because I told you before, they're like fugitives. But before I lose sight of what I was talking about and get off track with that, I didn't tell the narcissist directly that they were a narcissist. I went one better, because mind you, weeks before I even discovered what narcissistic personality disorder was, and discovered ultimately that I was living with one, I had asked her to leave my house simply because the hand of God was showing me. She was one of the most retarded narcissists that you probably want to meet, because when she began to devalue or tried to devalue me, the confidence and my self-worth was not so much diminished. I wasn't a broken individual. I was just that guy that needed to be needed. Handyman, Mr. Fix It, along with probably some other childhood wounds, but I wasn't my broken man to the point where she had to prop me up. I kind of knew my worth. So that didn't work, and I guess she was just trying all kinds of tactics, leaving cans and soup containers and metal containers from food all around the trash can, as opposed to putting them in the trash can. Just insidious stuff, and this is all designed to try to trigger you into an emotional rage or anger. It's supposed to paint a narrative like you're nitpicking, and then when they leave, they can tell everyone that they just couldn't do anything to please you. Looking back at this is what her attempts were. But every time she would do something insidious like this, I would sit there and say, well, you say you're going to put them in the trash can. Why did you throw them on the floor next to the trash can? I was going to get to it. You give me a chance. I understand that, but my question is, why did you throw them on the floor near the trash can as opposed to putting them in the trash? And so it must have flustered her, because when you can hold the course and you keep asking the same question without getting riled up, that roused them up. Now that is some power. Someone ever try to make you mad, they end up getting madder because they didn't make you mad as they anticipated. That's raw power. Power that some of us don't even realize we possess, because you're standing in your truth and you're sticking to the subject. You're not allowing people to throw you off of your point of reference. So I told her brother that she was a narcissist, and I emphasized, don't tell her, because I knew he would. So it was a reverse psychologist. This was textbook tacticianer, and I told you guys before, law-abiding citizen. I owe them immensely. James Bond movies. I think I was being trained to. I don't know if I'm playing defense or offense. I can counter when someone comes, and I box too. So my thing is this: like Roy Jones would tell you, an aggressive boxer normally, 9 times out of 10, he would probably not win. You have to be able to counter on another boxer's aggression. Well, with Mike Tyson, that's an exception to that rule. He would annihilate you. So I told her brother, and I said, don't tell her, because I really, you don't want your sister to, you don't want to make her mad. And I say, why don't you just tell her that, she needs to just get her stuff and leave, because you think that I'm a difficult guy to deal with. Something to that effect. And at the time when we discovered, me and my children, Googled what makes a person not show true remorse. This was as a result of her almost making me, and I don't mean I would have, but I'm just trying to show you what she was trying to do. I think she was trying to force my hand to punch her or hit her or physically do something to her, because she continually called me bitch, you a bitch, you a bitch, in front of my daughter and my son. And I was like, don't swear and call me that in front of my daughter. Don't talk like that in front of my daughter. And she continued to do it. These people have no regard for their safety. There are men out here, I'm willing to believe, who are not narcissists, but who have been abused by female narcissists, antagonistic narcissists, and it goes both ways. But we're talking specifically in a domestic issue where the female. And this is not all cases, but I'm trying to show you the record will never be truly told as to how these particular women have gaslit, antagonized, and ultimately caused their own harm and hurt at the hands of a man, because that is the pure disregard they have. They can't see, they can't rational, they don't know about cause and effect. And I'm not endorsing violence here, by the way, guys. I'm actually showing you, I don't live under a rock. You don't either. We don't live in a perfect world. These things happen. I hear some women saying right now, there's never an excuse to put your hand on a woman. It is never okay for a woman to incite a riot in a man or demean him or even more so, throw stuff at a man, hit him, slap him, punch him, and expect not to have someone defend themselves. It's just not okay for anyone to put their hands on anyone. If there's an argument, short of someone bringing imminent danger to you or physical harm towards you and you're defending yourself, no one should initiate any physical harm to anyone. Let's make that clear. And so I told him, no, just tell her that because, I don't want to be mad at you. And so I pretty much fabricated, making him feel like, hey, you could just tell her that I'm difficult. That you think I'm just a bad pick for her, that she needs to leave. And lo and behold, he did something to that effect. What he told her exactly, I don't know. But I know she was out of my house. She stayed here. She hung in there. And days later, after he had told her, the reason why I know he had told her, because about 2-3 days later, me and my children walk in. At this point, once we realized and we Googled what makes a person not show true remorse, and we discovered what narcissistic personality disorder for the very first time in my life was, and helps me to look back at a lot of these atrocious relationships I've gone through. Now it makes perfect sense why you are that guy or girl that is being deemed hard to deal with. You got attitude problems. You got issues that you need to deal with. It's always you. So now a lot of this makes sense. In light of the fact that you may have some issues, but to the degree that you're just detrimental to a relationship, especially if you're an empath, nothing could be farther from the truth. We are givers. We give to the end till there's no more, and we still give. Not no more though. So she remained in the house for 2 or 3 weeks later. I consequently lost the job that I had mysteriously. It was a government job too, in the aerospace industry as well. And I can tell you bits and pieces of how I believe that culminated. She brought me food down to the job. On one occasion, she had the kids. This is all looking back now. I know she was scouting the area, trying to pinpoint where the location of the building was and where the job was. This is intel. They are already on a campaign to cripple you and get you fired or cause you to lose your employment, because that takes a leg from under the table. So the table is not stationary now, meaning you. And so she wanted to go out with a bang. But after she left, I had the job for a few weeks after she left. Then mysteriously I get called into the boss's office and he asks me, did I call one of the employees a rat? And I looked at him and say, let's say hypothetically, if I called an employee a rat, a snitch, or whatever, does this deem termination? This is at best a write-up. So then God tapped me on the shoulder just like he did at the other job I had here most recently last year. I got fired from for alleged sexual harassment. Man, these people, they pull rabbits out of the hat, and it's always these mysterious accusations against you that makes no sense, but you can even tell it has the trimmings of premeditation, and you gotta know that this was a group effort every time you've lost a job or whatever. But let's get back to and that'll come up too about being terminated from jobs, being excommunicated out of groups. That'll come up tons more in videos. I'm not a sourpuss about it, man, because as you guys know, Empath and Chosen One, like my boy Denzo says, we are probably not cut out for 9 to 5s in the traditional sense. Not to say we don't like to work, because we work. We're not lazy people. We're creators. But we're just not meant for the mold of the 3D, if that makes sense. So days later, after I had awakened and my children became very aware. We all became aware of what narcissist personality was at the same time. I've told you guys the beautiful, beautiful situation. And so days later, we come in the house. This is when I had already told my children that we were going to go silent. Because right away when I Googled what this was, I'm going to tell you guys, when I Googled what it was, God showed up and showed out in my life. I was able to connect, and I was able to sponge these terms as, and I, just by the grace of God, I was able to connect to certain people in the YouTube world. I clicked on Sam Vaknin, Little Shaman, um, what's her name? Carmen, Dr. Carmen Bryant. There's so many people that I owed an immense thanks to. And I just started listening to these people, and they were talking about gray rock, gray rock, gray rock. I automatically embraced that. And that's the one thing you want to do before you even understand what narcissistic personality is, disorder is. Embrace gray rock. Research gray rock. Gray rock is immensely vital, and it's a very, very strong weapon in defense in getting the distance between you and the narcissist. Because once you go dark, go silent, they have nothing left. But they will try. They will smear, smut you, demean you, call you out of your name because they need reactions. I walked in the house a few days after I had already instructed the kids, because mind you, they were going between the mother, her insidious ass, went to court with her today, trying to get custody back again. Idiot. Oh, did I say that? Yeah, she is, because the Munchausen syndrome by proxy. I have no mercy, no love, no respect for that type of human being. Not to say I hate them, but I just don't have that kind of love for these type of people who harm and hurt children. I don't give a damn what kind of mental health or disorder you have. And people pretend in society they care about the children. The court system is sound bites, man. And going forward, I have a stack of medical records that are 10 years old that no one has ever looked into, and that's going to be coming down the pike in videos too. I'm probably going to be one of few men that is going to actually not pioneer, but bring much needed awareness to something that is going on within the court systems, that's going on within the family structures, whereas it mother, father, visitations in custody, all of this narcissism, all of this Munchausen syndrome, and all these other insidious, disturbed disorders where people manipulate and become vindictive and use the system. And the people in the system are pretty much part of the problem, because you take it to another level. If you got people in good positions to make decisions and they are narcissists, this is like gladiator sport. This is like a good movie to them. They love to see raw emotions. It's like watching a soap opera to these people. They get a rise off of this. And the revenue, if they can adjourn, they can drag this out and see all these emotions and this turmoil and this totality of lives put on hold, and life's postponed. It's one of the things that I most deeply care about and am concerned about. I just haven't been able to construct it to a point where I know it needs to be divorced. But I pray God's gonna give me the tools and the wherewithal to make this known some point. So we're just gonna keep on doing what we're doing with that. But days later, after I went into the house, the kids were on gray rock mode. We walk in, as you see in some of the videos from 2020, if you go back, you will see the walls in the house were taped and plastered with clear tape. And she had printed out 10 ways or 10 signs that he's a narcissist. Pronoun he. It was doctored up so bad, and you could see where she used marker to emphasize and like finish the sentences to cater to. It was a narrative she was painting. So I was in the house for 10, 15, 20 minutes, me and the children. The lights were off. We had some light from the TV. Nobody noticed anything. And then an autistic kid, the narcissist autistic kid, walks over and say, "Hey, mom said you got that," which is he was pointing to the wall. And so I look over and I see all of this plaster with tape. She put the tape all the way around the door jamb. I mean, just you can just see it was the narcissistic rage and injury had a lot to do with that tape, because that tape was just like, man, how much tape you need? Like the tape was holding the paper hostage, if you will. And so I had to contain myself. I didn't want to chuckle because this really wasn't a laughing matter, but I could see all of what I just spoke of: the narcissistic injury and the narcissistic rage. And where you can see on the bottom what the timestamp and date, none of that was there. So she was pissed because she had to go and research this. It's like looking in a mirror. Then she had to doctor it and edit it. That must have took painstaking amounts of time just to bring it home because I had already called her out to her brother. So this is what they do. That was her projection. And it didn't work to no avail. So I looked at it and I kind of smiled. And I looked at her autistic kid. And I just hunched my shoulders and said, or I did something like, and so he did like this. He went back in his room because autistic kids, they don't care nothing about nothing. So she put him up to tell him or make that known to me, or at least she probably had talked to him before we came in, trying to get him to think, okay, yeah, he's crazy, he's this, talking about me. So after I didn't see it for some time, he emphasized it, and then you could hear her whisper to him, "Did he see it? Did he see it?" Asking the autistic kid because she didn't get the reaction. Because guess what? She was hoping to hear some vocal reaction. And again, that gray rock. All she could hear was a rat pissing on cotton. That's how quiet it was in the house. And so it went from that, weeks on, days on. Every night I would come home. I had this blanket rolled up in a roll, and it was dividing the bed. I willed myself to sleep in the bed with her because I was aware. Do you understand me being aware? She was uncomfortable now. Because when I went gray rock, they don't know what you're thinking. You're not saying anything. They don't understand how to read you. She would have my Bible laying on my bed, on my pillow, just open to a random page. You have to understand. So at the same time, she was having one, if not two guys coming into my house in the cover of darkness, sleeping with them in my bed through my front door, unbeknownst to my daughter, who was sleeping in the very next room. And later when she left, weeks later, I asked my kids, was there anything strange or unusual that she used to do? They told me about she pulled up in front of the Dollar General and told them to go in and get stuff while she cleans the truck out, and there was a liquor store next door, right next door adjacent, so we already figured that out. After she left, there were Poland Springs water bottles that had been emptied of water and filled with wine, so she would dump the wine into these bottles, and they were hidden all up under the bed. And so wasn't just a drink at bath time, as she said when I first met her. They're full-blown alcoholic and druggies. Don't let them fool you. All you gotta do is pay attention to when you go out with them one time. If they get faced it, you know right away that may be a very strong sign. Well, of course, we ain't even going down that rabbit hole anymore. Because if you like me, I really preferably don't date people who have chronic drinking problems. Not to be finicky, but say you're a smoker. I don't condemn people who smoke, but I don't smoke anymore. I would definitely not want a smoker, in my life. Just don't. That's a preference. And if you're still smoking, empaths, chosen ones, I pray you get delivered from it, man. You can do it fast, as I did. 10-year habit, gone. But that's a preference, as with any other preference. Excuse me. So, Bible would be on my pillow, and she would be passed out, snoring, just like that, like a chainsaw. And I now know that she was passed out from both rumbling around, because when they steal sex behind your back, that's the best sex for them. They'll breadcrumb you when it comes to the bedroom. She tried that with me, but me being a busy guy, and maybe this is too much information, and I am hoping to curb, or not even curb. I've talked about this before. It's a thing called semen retention, and I struggle with pornography and masturbation. And I say struggle, probably not struggling. I just haven't decided and determined that is a big piece of the puzzle in my life that really needs to go. So I'm abstinence from physically being sexual with anybody at present. And that's not to say that makes it okay to be doing the other thing. But I'm just being honest with you guys, because I know a lot of us don't want to talk about that. But I'm hoping me being honest with you guys, letting you know that you're not the only one. You don't have to suffer in secret. And so back to the bigger point, she would be passed out, Bible open in random spots. I would get to the point, and I've told this before, I get there 2-3 days in after this, just it infuriated me, but I had to contain myself. The audacity to open the Bible, almost to say, you need to read your Bible. The last ditch attempt of trying to draw me back to sleep, if you will, back under the spell of control. Because having an intimate relationship with God, that is how she lured me into her little web, giving me that church track when I went to a visiting church, and she happened to be at that visiting church. Handed me the track, didn't even look at me, head down, just like random. Didn't even have the audacity to even give me the depth of what this was. I think she said, "Here, you can come down with church if you want." And I don't know how she knew that would be just enough, but they know. And I told her, I said, "I ain't gonna promise you I'm coming to your church." And I was already on that, man. I was in that mode. God was working on me about church and the fellowship that we see in the traditional sense. I love fellowshipping with believers. Don't get it twisted. I'm talking about something specific to you guys who believe in God. You better wake up. You best to get your head right. And this narcissist awakening is what God chose to get you out of that religiosity, that mechanical mindset of do's and don'ts, worrying about what the preacher think more than you worrying about what God thinks. Your fellow brothers and sisters can't give you a minute's rest. They're blowing your phone up, always showing up at your house unannounced. These are low-key narcissists, religious narcissists. You are the reason for the season, empath. And with a faith in God like you do, that makes you a potent asset for them. They're bloodthirsty asses. And so as the story went, she ended up inevitably moving her ass out like a roach with the lights on, like I always say, and took more stuff than she brought, left more of her crap than I even wanted to deal with, but a couple dump trailers full of garbage, and it was over with. And I said this before, my cat was running to every pile of clothing that we would throw in a pile and would urinate on it. Your animals know, and they read the spirits. read the spirits. So you're aware, and this is the worst thing that could ever happen to a narcissist, other than being abused and traumatized in their youth, thereby becoming a narcissist. This is second to the worst. Next to that, they have to go on for the rest of their life knowing that someone knows exactly who they are and that someone is you. That should be comforting to you, being that you know you have the upper hand to your life. It's not something you care about even hoarding over the narcissist. We don't care about trying to out them per se. They're outed by the fact that we are aware. Us being one person that's aware of what they are, that is it too. That's a component, because you have to understand they don't know how many people you are making aware. So that is the unrest and the unsettled thing in their head. It's almost like them being a murderer and you know that they are a murderer. That's essentially what they are. They are psychological murderers. And so the next person they go into a relationship with, they are on edge because, for multiple reasons, because you got away first, and because you know what they are. Imagine having to go everywhere through life looking over your shoulder. But mind you me, once they get into a new victim relationship where they're victimizing somebody else, their long-term memory doesn't resonate. They lack object constancy, so they don't form bonds. So they kind of detach from that thought process with you knowing, and they go on with the new supply to keep themselves occupied, if you will. But they have moments of you being aware. They have a lot of moments of you being aware. When they're by themselves, they have the totality of you on their mind. That's why they try to abuse you and break you down so bad, because what they're essentially trying to do is make you become or put you in the state of mind that they are in when you meet them, if that makes sense. They want you to be on edge. They want your mind to be so rattled. As with before they met you, you were pretty sane. You had your faculties in the right place. But when they leave you disheveled. And this is to complement their insidious, sick, twisted state of mind. Misery loves company. And the devil has recruited them to do this. So don't take it personal, because somebody else is going through the same thing you went through. Okay, guys, let me go and dose up with some medicine, which I don't like to take. NyQuil with the honey in it or something like that. I'll dose up and I'll get up on the blankets and put like 10 blankets on me, and I should be good as new tomorrow. Say a prayer for me, guys. That being said, bless.